Hey guys, Matt here, and today I wanted to give my review of Blade Runner 2049. Directed by Denis Villenueve, Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel to the 1982 original Blade Runner. It stars Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Robin Wright, Ana de Armas, Sylvia Hoeks, and is written by Hampton Fancher and Michael Green. Blade Runner 2049 is set 30 years after the events of the first film. It follows Officer K, a replicant of the latest model of replicants that obey orders without question and never lie. K is a Blade Runner, set to retire other Blade Runners. During a mission to retire a rogue replicant, he makes a discovery that changes what everyone knows about replicants and could lead to a panic among the population and an all-out war between humans and replicants. To avoid this, K is ordered to destroy all evidence of the discovery. During his investigation, he uncovers more information that makes him question who he is and that he could be more than the mere machine that everyone else sees him as. Now, before I went and saw this film, I wanted to watch the original because I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager and I didn't really get it back then. So I watched the final cut, and so that one doesn't have the narration, and the ending is different from the theatrical version. So I've not seen the original theatrical version yet. I intend to, I just haven't done it yet. And I'll say this, I didn't really fall in love with the movie. There were parts of it I didn't really care about. I didn't care so much for the film noir aspects, or some of the music. Which, it's just personal preference. It's not a fault with the film. It's just things that I personally just don't really find that enjoyable. I really like the themes. I found it a very creative film. I liked the ending, the whole part with Deckard and Sebastian's home, the chase scene, and then Roy's monologue at the end. I love that part. I'm still kind of conflicted about the ending of the final cut versus what I've heard about the theatrical cut. I think I need to watch that and then ruminate on it a bit more before I really, can say how I feel about it. But I will say I can definitely see how this film influenced future films that came afterward. While I was watching this film, I saw elements from Ghost in the Shell, Akira, Dark City, The Matrix. I can see how elements from Blade Runner were used to inspire the same kind of elements in those future movies. And from an objective standpoint, I would definitely say that Blade Runner is one of the most important science fiction films in history, even if it's not one of my personal favorites. With that said, what did I think of 2049? It was amazing. From the visuals, to the sound, to the score, to the writing, to the editing, to the directing, to the acting, I absolutely love this movie. 2049 looks at many of the same themes that we see in the original film, but doesn't seem like a complete copy of the original. In fact, 2049 could, in and of itself, be a standalone film. It gives you just enough information so that you can understand everything that's going on and that's happened in the past without having actually seen the original film. Some of the references you won't get, and of course you'll lose a couple plot points here and there, but for the most part, it is in and of itself its own film. Blade Runner is about second-class citizens and the treatment of second-class citizens, and it uses replicants as a means to discuss this topic by asking questions about the morality of treating these people as servants due to the circumstances of their creation, in spite of the fact that they're capable of feeling the exact same emotions that we are. And what I like about 2049 is that by having the main character be a replicant and having the audience follow him along so that we can see the type of discrimination he goes through and the expectation of him to act in such a way that is in stark contrast with the very creature that he's supposed to be emulating, really gives you a greater sense of empathy for his character and other replicants, as opposed to if you were to use an actual human being. Ryan Gosling and Sylvia Hoeks do an excellent job of portraying replicants in this film because they have to act like humans but not show any emotion, but at the same time without appearing to be too robotic, because they do have emotions and those emotions burst out at different points in the film. They just keep them suppressed, which kind of makes them like Vulcans in that sense. Harrison Ford does a terrific job in this, returning as Deckard. Robin Wright who plays Kay's commanding officer. She does a great job. Ana de Armas has a very interesting role in this. She plays a holographic program who forms a romantic relationship with Kay. And it's got to be one of the most interesting romantic relationships I've ever seen in a science fiction film. Most of the side characters actually only have short roles. They're only in like 1 or 2 scenes for the most part. But they all do a great job. They keep it subdued. They don't overdo it in any of the scenes. Edward James Olmos is in it. He only has a short scene, but it's a nice little throwback to the original film. Dave Bautista, he's only in 1 scene, but he gives a really good performance, and I like seeing him do more serious roles so he can show everyone just how good of an actor he really is. Jared Leto, also in only 2 scenes, but the character's very important, and he himself, this kind of role allows more than something like Suicide Squad to show why he is an Oscar-winning actor. The art direction in the film is excellent. Whether it's the sprawling, close-quartered streets of LA, the downed ruins of the San Diego factories, or the desert ruins of Las Vegas, every location in the film is unique and carries with it a particular ambiance that gives it a certain feel that is unique to that particular location. There are 3 areas of the film that I have to give particular praise. The first is the music by Benjamin Wallfisch and Hans Zimmer. And I knew watching it Zimmer had something to do with it because I remember thinking during the film that it sounded like a combination of Inception and Interstellar. It's powerful, it's evocative, and it's engrossing. The second is the editing by Joe Walker. And it's particularly impressive when you consider that the film was originally cut down from a 4-hour cut of the film. That, mixed with the soundtrack, elevates the emotional intent of each and every scene. But above all else, the one aspect of this film that I think deserves the most praise, and if this film wins just 1 Oscar, it should be for cinematography by Roger Deakins. Every single shot in this film is gorgeous. Every establishing shot, every tracking shot, every single shot in this film is absolutely beautiful. But I'd have to say my favorite parts of this film is when you combine the brilliance of the cinematography, the editing, and the music, when it segues from one scene to the next. My favorite shot in the film is when Sylvia Hoeks' character, Love, is searching for Kay. She's looking for him on a computer, and it cuts to her, from her, to Kay wandering through the desert in the ruins of Las Vegas. And what you hear is this, when it transitions to that, you hear this thunderous boom from Zimmer and Wallfisch. It provides it with it's the kind of theatrical viewing experience that makes me really sad I didn't get to see this in IMAX. One aspect about the film that I like goes back to the question, is Deckard or isn't he a replicant? Now, I haven't read the original short story Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but from what I understand, Philip K. Dick made it a bit more implicit that Deckard is in fact a human. And I know Harrison Ford has stuck adamantly to that argument that he is human, whereas the director of the original, Ridley Scott, has been fervently adamant that he's actually a replicant. And that's actually kind of why I'm torn with the final cut of the original film, because it seems to give much more weight to the idea that he's a replicant. Me personally, I like the ambiguity in the question because it gives, the viewer the chance to make their own conclusion based on their own viewpoints and their own feelings toward it. And that's what I like about the 2049. They continue that trend by not stating conclusively one way or another, but giving, a few hints here and there that he is one way or another. If there's one aspect of the film that I could be critical of, it's that while I do think that the pacing for the film actually is just right, there are some scenes in the film that do seem to drag on a little bit too much for me, and I do find myself losing interest. But overall, I would definitely say that the movie is a visual splendor, and it is just an outright entertaining film. Overall, I give it a 9.5 out of 10, and if you haven't seen it yet, I would strongly recommend that you do. You won't be disappointed. Well guys, that's all I got. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.